From Lagos, Nigeria, this is News Central. I'm Felicity Wike. The top stories tonight. Presidency opens two-day economic summit aimed at improving coordination and driving inclusive growth across Nigeria. Protesters storm National Assembly over Senate's rejection of real-time transmission of election results. Antonio Seguro wins Portugal's presidential election, defeating far-right André Ventura in runoff after turbulent campaign.
In business, Corporate Affairs Commission says it records 10,000 business registration requests daily since the adoption of artificial intelligence.
And in sports, major upsets recorded at the ITTF Africa Cup in Benghazi as Africa's #1 gets eliminated.
Details in a moment. Glad you could join us. President Bola Tinubu has assured Nigerians of the commitment of his administration to defeat terrorism and banditry, describing insecurity as unacceptable and alien to the nation's values. This was during the commencement of the National Economic Council two-day conference with a theme, Delivering Inclusive Growth and Sustainable National Development, the Renewed Hope National Development Plan 2026 to 2030. News Center's State House correspondent Bettina Uweli reports.
Hereby declare the second edition of the National Economic Council Conference open.
Declaring open the second National Economic Council Conference at the State House in Abuja, President Bola Tinubu reaffirmed his administration's commitment to restoring peace and strengthening Nigeria's security architecture. President Tinubu says that infrastructure development, social investment programs, and human capital initiatives will remain central to the Renewed Hope agenda.
We have recorded notable achievements that reflect our commitment to cooperative federalism and inclusive development. This, first, state and local government now receive increased and more predictable federal allocations, improving their capacity to pay salaries, invest in infrastructure, and deliver social services. I'm confident that the resolution of this conference will include dairy farming, livestock investment, ranches, and diversification of our agricultural produce. I promise you here, I'll play my part.
Speaking at the conference, Vice President Kashim Shettima described the National Economic Council as a vital platform for consensus building and coordinated action, stressing that inclusive growth must translate into real opportunities for Nigerians across all regions.
Presents a unique opportunity to onboard new governors and deepen our shared understanding of next role in shaping Nigeria's economic destiny. To align federal and state strategies with the National Development Plan 2021 to 2025 and the Nigeria Agenda 2050, especially in poverty reduction, job creation, and social protection.
To rise and observe a minute's silence for all those who lost their lives in a mindless attack in the villages of Woro and Nuhu in Kwara State.
Participants observed a minute's silence for victims of terrorism across the country, while the president expressed confidence that resolutions from the conference will strengthen national development and advance peace in the nation. In Abuja, for News Central, Bettina Uweli.
Many thanks, Bettina. Former presidential candidate Peter Obi on Monday joined civil society groups and youth organizations in a peaceful walk to the National Assembly, calling for urgent amendments to Nigeria's Electoral Act. News Central's correspondent Idong Joseph was part of the procession, and he now reports.
Are we tired? Are we criminals? Our vote must. Our vote must.
Hundreds of members of civil society organizations, including youth groups, converged on the National Assembly as early as 8 a.m., singing solidarity songs and carrying placards with various inscriptions, all demanding reforms in the nation's electoral process. They say that their demand is clear and simple: a mandatory electronic transmission of election results.
We are here to pass our message to our senators and our House of Rep members. The function of government is to protect lives and property. That is why we have come today to talk about the real-time electronic transmission of results.
Akpabio, if you want us to come here again, we will be asking for your resignation. We are here to say pass a bill, and we are not going to stop.
They want that retaining the existing provisions on result transmission will encourage election manipulation, adding that continued delays in concluding the reforms can weaken public trust in the electoral process.
We want real-time mandatory transmission of election results. Anybody who says that it is not possible is a thief. If the government say they do not know how to use technology, they should go and ask bandits and terrorists how they are calling kidnapper victims for them to collect ransom.
In this current INEC, #1 trillion was approved for them, and you are coming to tell us there will be no mandatory transmission of results, meaning that waiting you write to go call for middle of the night, people they sleep low.
Former presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 general elections, Peter Obi, joins the peaceful work, lending his voice to the call for transparency and accountability in elections.
The giant of Africa have refused to be giant in anything. We cannot continue to shame Africa. We now want giant of Africa to be true giant of Africa. And the only way we can do it is to live a transparent, honest life, starting from our election processes.
The protesters insist that credible elections remain the foundation of democracy, stressing that electronic transmission of results is key to safeguarding against manipulation and essential in ensuring that every vote counts. In Abuja for News Central, Idong Joseph.
Former presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, Adewale Adebayo, joins for this conversation from our Abuja studio. Thank you very much for obliging us tonight. As a former presidential candidate, you also see that Peter Obi has taken his stance with the people. Can you confirm to us what your position is on the Senate's decision to remove real-time transmission of the electoral from the Electoral Act amendment?
Thank you, your viewers, and God bless Nigeria. My position is already clear. I've made it open, and the political party that I belong to, the SDP, has made it clear that it's a minimum requirement, and we are not going to take any provision which is short of compulsory electronic transmission of results in real time to the IRF simultaneously with the deriving of the election result at the polling unit. So it's the same time as you are issuing the result at the polling unit, you must give it, you must transmit it to IRF through the BVAS machine, and you must do that simultaneously, no waiting, do it. If the election result is written at 5 o'clock, exactly at that 5 o'clock, you must transmit it.
Well, have we advanced that much? Because that's one of the arguments that's been put forward. How would you balance electoral transparency with concerns about technology failures like those reported in 2023?
Well, it's like someone asking us to abandon digital TV because sometimes you have low bandwidth. You have to move forward. INEC, the body responsible with implementing it, has agreed that that's what they want. Everyone who is involved in election management say that's what we want. The National Communication Commission had a planning session, several sessions with INEC. And this technology is not new. It's been tested in over 165 elections across the country that INEC has conducted. And as recently as last week, national leaders of all political parties met with the INEC chairman, national chairman. INEC wants the law to be written the way we all agreed. Compulsory and mandatory transmission of electronic transmission of election results in real time, simultaneously with issuing it manually. So there is no need for them to cry more than to bereaved to give any kind of excuse. This is not a partisan issue. This is not grandstanding by politicians. We met today with many of the civil society groups in Lagos. Atutomi was there. Almost everybody was there. Ayuba Waba was there. Pastor Bugaje was there. And we've sent people across the country. And this is not a presidential candidate or politician coming to grandstand. This is what the people want. And this is what the majority of the National Assembly wants. Because the Senate passed it in committee. The Senate debated it and agreed in the executive session. The House of Representatives has concluded its entire process up to the third reading. So this is just a few desperate people in National Assembly leadership, led by the Senate President, are trying to throw spanner into the works. So this is not an election campaign issue. This is not a one-party or second-party issue. Even majority of APC members want it. The chairman of this Senate Committee on the Electoral Reform is from APC. He voted for it. The chairman House Committee on the same committee on Electoral Reform is from APC. Voted for it.
I mean, today we saw the protest and the concerns being raised, and at the heart of it, some would say, is a question of public trust in the Nigeria's system, Nigeria's leadership. Do you think that it is only the real-time electronic transmission of results that will restore some measure of public trust in Nigeria's elections, particularly?
It is an easy tool to use. It is like VAR. It doesn't mean that we don't have confidence in the football matches, but VAR came and it has improved, reduced the margin of error. So that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to say this technology is available, it's been tested. The only reason why National Assembly is getting involved now is because in cases where it is not used, and that has led to some bad result or injury or controversy, the Supreme Court, leading other courts, have said that it's a good technology, but we cannot force INEC to use it except it is contained in the Electoral Act. So we are not coming to make a case that it's a good technology. We already know. We are not coming to make a case that it's going to help the elections. We already know. What we are saying is to eliminate such instances where, for some reason or the other, for one motive or the other, for one situation or the other, it is not used. And on many occasions, I can give you thousands of examples where it has been a difference between accepting the result or not accepting the result.
Okay, so this is not a question of, maybe it's an oversight, maybe something, there was a misunderstanding. These things are clearly known. And the Senate, though it seems like there is some division, but there's been a comment that this bill has been passed. This is a deliberate action. Do you believe that these protests will compel the change that is required? Because, like it or not, this is not the first time Nigerians are coming out to say, we want this. And then the leadership will kind of, what they want becomes the norm.
This is going to be different because this is not fighting over policy. This is fighting for the soul of the country. It's either we want to use democracy to choose leaders, or you want to do fight for all, and nobody wants to do fight for all. What we want is electronic voting, electronic transmission. We want other measures, including increasing the penalty for those who are committing election violence. There are people who bring out machetes, running after people who want to come and vote for their own candidate. Those who are forging papers, those who are buying and selling votes, all these vices. And then we discovered that the Senate now, through Akpabio and a few of, just a minority of them, started to reduce the sanction. I don't know how a lawmaking body wants to reward lawbreakers. Thirdly, there's no need to truncate the one-year window for INEC to plan elections. So those are other issues that we're discussing with them. The reason why there is so much emotion, there's so much commitment, there's so much uproar regarding the electronic transmission is that it is a harmless provision that's already been done and it costs nothing. So we're not going to spend more money on it. It's already there. It's a very low-hanging fruit.
Right.
It's a sign that those who are in charge really want to truncate the will of the people. That's why
is this electronic transmission of results cheat-proof? Because we know that even when we used it in the last election, there were still complaints here and there. Is this, if somebody really wants to cheat, at the moment we see that the alignment of population and states that belong to the ruling party and the opposition is very skewed. So the question again, will this transmission make it cheat-proof?
It will make it cheat-proof after the result has been derived. There are other challenges we still have to deal with before the election, during the election, vote buying, things like that, violence and all of that. But once voters have gone to a polling unit, which is where most voters know. I'm a politician, I'm a presidential candidate, so I know all the entire gamut of election. But for the common man who just wants the good of his country, who's just looking for a leader he can believe in, most of the interaction ends at the polling unit. And the highest disappointment he can get is to be at a polling unit, see a particular result, and then hear later that that result is not what was collated. That's what we want to address on this occasion. And we are not negotiating it. It is not up to debate. We demand it. This election will not take place unless these provisions are put inside the law, and it's up to the government to decide whether they want to be government of a peaceful nation or they want to truncate the administration by themselves. It's up to them. But we are not going to give an inch.
All right.
And this is not a one-day protest. This is not a kind of a signature show-off for one or two candidates. No, the whole country is standing up, all of us. And we hope that by tomorrow, when the emergency session is called, that they resolve this emergency they have created, and we move on to other challenges, many, many challenges facing the country, insecurity, poverty, and all of that. But they cause all of this hypertension in the country now, because there's nobody who says that he's a Democrat who is going to allow this to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's been speculated that this is just testing the will of the people to see how far they can be pushed. I guess they are pushing back. Thank you very much, Adewale, for speaking with us, sir.
Thank you, and God bless Nigeria.
Coming up, Access Bank pays tributes to late co-founder Herbert Wigwe and his family. This story and more after the break. Thank you for staying with us. You're watching Tonight on News Central. A reminder of our top stories. Presidency opens two-day economic summit aimed at improving coordination and driving inclusive growth across Nigeria. Protesters storm National Assembly over Senate's rejection of real-time transmission of election results. And Antonio Seguro wins Portugal's presidential election, defeating far-right Andre Ventura in runoff after a turbulent campaign. Let's go to the courts now. The Court of Appeal in Abuja has ruled that the Senate acted within its constitutional authority when it suspended Kogi Central lawmaker Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan over misconduct. The court held that her parliamentary privilege and constitutional rights were not violated by the disciplinary measure, affirming the chamber's internal regulatory powers. The court, however, set aside contempt proceedings and a 5 million naira fine earlier imposed over a satirical apology linked to the dispute with the Senate leadership. The panel also affirmed the Senate President's authority to allocate seats and regulate participation during plenary, reinforcing institutional procedures and legislative order. Let's cross on now to Rivers State. President Bola Tinubu has again intervened in the lingering political crisis between Governor Fubara and Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike. Sources say President held talks with both warring parties and other key political stakeholders from the state. Although details of the meeting were not disclosed, the discussions are believed to be aimed at resolving the lingering political tensions in Rivers State. Unconfirmed accounts claimed that Fubara appealed to the minister and pleaded to avoid any actions that could be perceived as disrespectful, signaling a possible reconciliation between the two influential political figures. Let's get some perspective. Jacob Pele is a political analyst and stakeholder in Rivers State. He joins us now to discuss the situation. Thank you very much for being here with us. This is not the first time that President Tinubu would be, brokering peace between Governor Fubara and the FCT minister. Yet the crisis does not seem to end. What difference would this round of meetings make?
Not much, as far as I'm concerned. What we see, I can describe as the president pushing the button to get a pause in place of peace. It's almost like, hey, guys, stop the noise. And then you turn back and then the noise will continue. It's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu have weighed in on this crisis too many times. And the previous times, he never got any result. And I am not a pessimist, but I'm not very optimistic that he will get the same peace. And that's because, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you believe the sources that are claiming that Fubara is now apologizing to Wike again and saying that things will be better, there will be no more confrontation, especially with the optics we've seen in the past few days? He has moved to the APC. Wike has made them rounds across the state. Does this align with what we see?
I don't believe anything the politician says. I haven't spoken to Fubara, and I don't think Fubara has publicly says and confirmed all of these narratives. I don't know whether it is true, and if he had to apologize to Wike, and I will ask, apologize for what? What did he do that he's apologizing? If he decides to do that, that's up to him. He has every right to apologize to anybody he wants to apologize to, but what are you apologizing for? I don't know what he should be apologizing for, but if he did that, that's up to him. But I need to have some element of proof.
Yeah, because that's why I asked, because when sources are quoted in such a manner, and then you juxtapose that with what we see in the news and, what is happening, it begs the question if this is actually true. But, I mean, we'll get to know that in the coming days. Away from that speculation, what should Rivers people and the investors realistically expect in the next 6 to 12 months? Are we looking at stability? Are we looking at renewed tension? Or we're looking at even a federal intervention again?
Well, you see, if you have a problem and you keep treating the symptoms, that problem will persist. I would put it in perspective. When you see a crack on the wall and you get a medicine man to go and seal the crack, and you come back the next day, the crack surfaces, and you get a medicine man to seal the crack. You do it the third time. The problem is not with the wall that is cracking. The problem is foundation. Until President Bola Tinubu is willing to address the foundational issues and use his presidential might in a balanced way to solve this problem. If he can look in the eyes of Wike and said, I don't want this again, stop it. And look in the eyes of Fubara and said, I don't want to hear this again, stop it. They are not listening to him because he's, first, he's not neutral. Secondly, I don't see very good intention on his part. If the idea is to keep both of them at war so that I can win election, if the idea is to make sure that the state stays the way it is, so that I can use whatever strategy that I like to make sure I don't lose the state, this whole thing will continue. And I can guarantee you that he will lose River State if he doesn't approach it honestly, with determination as a father of the nation to get lasting peace. If he keeps pursuing personalization in place of institutionalization, this is what he will get.
You've expressed concern about the president, managing the situation in a balanced way, and he seems biased. Are you laying some responsibility for this crisis at his doorsteps in real time? And would you say his handling of this situation is a reflection of his broader approach to governance and leadership in the country?
Well, I don't want to relate River State issue or treat it in isolation, but
you've laid some responsibility for the crisis on his table. Yeah, so I'm asking his handling of it.
Because he can solve this problem. He can solve this problem if he approaches it with absolute honesty. He can solve this problem if he's not treating Wike as a sacred cow. And many of us from River State, we wonder what pact he has with Wike. What covenant does he have with Wike that he cannot call Wike to order and say, don't do this. He keeps making very inflammatory statements. He keeps threatening a sitting governor, and saying all the things he wants to say as if I don't care. For too long, the president have allowed this to happen in any same
now
society.
that he has intervened, I'm told we're out of time, in about 40 seconds if you can. Now that he has intervened, what specific actions would you want to see him take towards a conclusive resolution of the crisis? Because you've been saying he's not been balanced. So what specific actions are you looking to see from this latest meeting?
Address the matter to the root. You can't keep trying to solve the effects when you have not taken time to address the cause. That is the problem, and you need to be honest. You see, what they've been doing to Fubara, which I don't blame the person, I don't blame the president who is doing it, I blame him, is that they cow him, they make him feel intimidated. They laud whatever decision secretly that FCT minister wants to see on him. They flip the situation and make him, it's a guilt flip. They make him feel that he's the one that is guilty of all the crises,
all right, Jake.
And then nothing happens.
I'm sorry to interject, but we really are out of time. I was really hoping I would hear, heart of the problem. There seem to be multiple, but that's a conversation for another day. Thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Access Bank has paid tribute to its late former group managing director, Dr. Herbert Wigwe, 2 years after his passing, also remembering his wife, Doreen, and their son, Chizi. In a statement on Monday, the bank said Wigwe's legacy lives on in the values, standards, and culture of excellence that continue to define Access. The bank described him as a visionary leader whose courage and clarity shaped the institution into one of Nigeria's most respected financial organizations. Access Bank also acknowledged the profound loss of his family, noting that their memory remains forever in the hearts of all who knew them. The tribute underscores the enduring impact of Wigwe's leadership and his lasting bond with the Access community. Still ahead tonight. Ministers back UK Prime Minister following call for his resignation. Stay with us for details. To security matters now. Residents of Danhonu 2 in Kaduna's Millennium City blocked Yaradua Road on Monday to press for urgent measures after a fresh kidnapping incident involving 7 people. Protesters said suspected bandits raided the community late Sunday, abducting members of 2 families in a pattern of repeated attacks. The demonstration involved men, women, and youth carrying placards and voicing frustration at the frequency of the abductions, which locals say has reached 11 cases in recent months. Protesters marched to the Millennium City Divisional Police Headquarters to formally register grievances and pressed security agencies to intensify patrols and establish a police outpost. Fear has gripped Utunko district in Ado local government area, Benue State, after gunmen abducted 9 worshippers from St. John's Catholic Church during a vigil service on Saturday, February the 7th. The victims, reportedly teenagers, were unarmed when attackers struck, and the kidnappers are demanding a 30 million naira ransom. Residents say the community is now living in fear, avoiding night activities, including church services. This incident adds to growing insecurity in rural Benue, where residents regularly face kidnappings and attacks. Security agencies have yet to provide details on rescue operations or arrest. The trial of 11 suspects accused of the murder of Arise News journalist Somtochukwu Maduago has suffered a setback following the absence of the defendants in court. At the resumed hearing at the Federal Capital Territory High Court in Jabi, Abuja, the prosecuting counsel Adama Musa told the court that the defendants were not produced despite the presence of their legal representatives. Musa explained that prison officials claimed they were unaware of the February 9 trial date, even though 4 witnesses were already lined up to testify. And the poor condition of some public schools in Lagos State continues to raise serious concerns among students, teachers, and parents. Education stakeholders are now urging government intervention to safeguard learning outcomes and prioritize quality education for children across the state and beyond. News Centre's Omolola Ololade visited one of the affected schools. Here's our report.
Be a doctor and a builder.
Like these pupils, the dreams of hundreds of children in the Ajegunle area of Lagos largely depend on Kajola Nursery and Primary School. But with dilapidated classrooms, broken perimeter fences and limited learning facilities, pupils here are forced to pursue education against daunting odds.
Anytime rain is falling, there's a place that is hold out to be leaking, and rain will be touching us.
Our chairs, the fence, and our roof, sometimes some used to fall, with the classroom, with our toilet, our soccer way. They are not doing it. Please let government do it for us.
For decades, Kajola Nursery Primary School has served children from the Godo area, the Kirikiri Axis and Dankaka communities, offering access to basic education. However, residents say years of neglect have left the school in a deplorable state.
As now the condition of the school day, we're not happy. See the classes. Some children they read for ground. Government, I bet, use the government to remember the school to do well. That's the best school. We don't want to lose this.
If you say now government, they take care of this school, or fence the school, and look the school, everywhere is tattered. And the government is abandoning the school. So if you say government, you not abandon the school, nobody will look about to say once a school.
The worsening condition of the school buildings has also led to a steady decline in enrollment, as many parents withdraw their children and resort to unregulated and often substandard private schools within the neighborhood. Educators are now calling on government to prioritize education, particularly in underserved and rural communities, to ensure every child has access to safe learning environment and quality instruction.
If they have not exhausted the completion of all that ought to be done, even within the metropolis, by way of priority and prioritization of efforts, we may likely find situation like that in the remote areas.
The deteriorating state of public school infrastructure across Nigeria, especially in remote areas, continues to worry students, teachers and parents alike, renewing calls for urgent government action and sustained investment in education for all. In Lagos, for News Central, Omolola Ololade.
Prime Minister Keir Starmer is expected to address a meeting of the Parliamentary Labour Party following public support from senior cabinet members. The move comes after Scottish Labour Minister Anas Sowell called for the Prime Minister's resignation, prompting several ministers to issue coordinated messages backing Starmer's leadership. Among those expressing support were Councillor Rachel Reeves and senior Labour figures who called for unity within the party as internal tensions escalated. And to one of our top stories tonight, Portugal's moderate socialist Antonio José Seguro has won a decisive victory in the second round of the country's presidential election, defeating far-right candidate André Ventura of the Chaga party. Seguro secured 66.8% of the vote against Ventura's 33.2% in an election held despite weeks of disruption caused by deadly storms. The vote determines a successor to outgoing President Marcelo Sousa. The runoff saw a strong cross-party effort to block a Chega victory, with some senior right-wing figures backing the centre-right candidate. The campaign was overshadowed by two major storms that forced authorities to declare a state of calamity until February 15. Ventura had urged officials to delay the vote by a week, arguing that weather conditions affected equal participation. Tonight returns with business, sports and entertainment update. Stay with us.
Okay, in business now, the Corporate Affairs Commission has scaled its operations to process up to 10,000 business registrations daily following the deployment of artificial intelligence across 8 service platforms. Speaking at the Commission's 35th anniversary lecture in Abuja, Registrar General Uzaine Magaji said AI has significantly improved efficiency enabling the CAC to manage rising registrations and over 5,000 daily customer inquiries. He attributed the surge to tax reforms, policies promoting business formalization, and the growth of digital enterprises. The CAC now operates a fully digital 24-hour global registry supported by AI tools to enhance Nigeria's ease of doing business. We also tell you that the World Bank has reduced a planned grant to the Central Bank of Nigeria from $10.5 million to about $6.8 million, with a board consideration now scheduled for March 25 or 27, rather, 2026. The grants, funded entirely through the Finance for Development Multi-Donor Trust Fund, will support the CBN Technical Assistance Facility aimed at strengthening technology-driven, data-based banking supervision and oversight of payment, including remittance systems. The project has advanced to the decision-making stage and will not add to Nigeria's external debt. The World Bank says such adjustments are normal during project preparations. And looking at the equities market, activities extended gains as the all-share index rose 1.29% to 171,727 points, lifting market capitalization to 111.65 trillion naira. Investors displayed selective enthusiasm, rotating into sectors showing momentum while actually trimming positions in others. We now look at sector performance, starting with the banking sector, even as we see that it edged down slightly 0.04% as traders took profits in major names. Insurance also gave back 0.03%, with activity largely muted across the sector. Oil and gas edged up 1.29% as energy counters attracted renewed buying interest. We see that consumer goods also up by 0.72%, supported by steady demand for staple stocks. And finally, industrial goods, 0.79% good, with cement and manufacturing stocks drawing consistent attention. That's it on business. I am Lekon Onobanjo.
In sports, Nigeria table tennis star Quadri Aruna has stunned by an Algerian Madi Balaruse in a 4-3 semi-final defeat at the 2026 ITTF Africa Cup in Benghazi, Libya. The closely contested match ended 11-9, 11-6, 8-11, 11-7, 8-11, 8-11, and 11-7, denying Aruna Quadri another continental title. Aruna reached the semi-final with commanding victories, defeating Egypt's Beda Mustafa at 4-0 in the quarterfinals and Libya's Habib Al-Ajbim at 4-0 in the round of 16. Widely regarded as one of Africa's most dominant players, Aruna had been aiming to extend the decorated career with another championship. Despite the loss, he secured qualification for the ITTF World Cup in Macau, China, which serves off on the 30th of March. Now, boxing in Lagos is experiencing a new wave of popularity, not just in traditional neighborhood gyms, but in the upscale fitness studios across the state. The sport is now attracting white-collar professionals, celebrities, women, and young people seeking fitness, discipline, and mental strength. Stakeholders link the growth to increasing social media visibility, improved training infrastructure, and the rising appeal of boxing as both as a workout and a professional path. Despite the progress, challenges still remain, including limited funding, inconsistent sponsorship, and low broadcast exposure.
It motivates me in any way, and I'm hoping to empower the youth as well. This is the reason why I decided to bring something like this here to Nigeria, because I have something like this in Istanbul, in the heart of Turkey too. So we're just trying to empower the youth, to have them showcase their talents, and to have them achieve their peak goals. So that's why we're here. Thank you so much.
The upper class believe boxing is for touts, is for hooligans and all that. And this boxing is it's just a sport, it's just a game.
And now to tennis, Serena Williams has been officially cleared to resume her professional tennis career from February 22, 2026. After meeting anti-doping requirements. The International Table Tennis Tennis, Integrity Agency confirmed today. The 23 Grand Slam champion has not competed since 2022 US Open, but rejoined the anti-doping testing pool last year, fueling speculations of a potential comeback. Her reinstatement marks a key milestone, giving the former world number one an opportunity to re-enter professional tennis if she chooses. Williams herself has yet to announce whether she will return to tour for a leveled competition. And that's it in the world of sports. I am Onyinyechi Obaro. Entertainment news is up next with Sam Dandy.
And now in entertainment, legendary Ghanaian musician Ebo Taylor, widely regarded as the founding father of modern highlife, has passed away at the age of 90, sparking tributes across Africa and beyond. With a career spanning over 6 decades, Taylor blended traditional Ghanaian rhythms with jazz, funk, and Afrobeat, shaping generations of African music and influencing global artists through widely sampled works. Fellow musicians, cultural institutions, and fans have celebrated his immense contribution, describing him as a cultural custodian whose music helped place Ghana firmly on the world stage and whose legacy will live on through sound, history, and influence. I guess it's more sad news. At the Dream State Music Festival in Sydney, Australia, tragedy struck over the weekend when a man in his 40s died and 6 other attendees were hospitalized after experiencing sudden medical episodes during the event. Authorities say the incident occurred at Sydney Olympic Park late Saturday night, with one of the 6 in critical condition. Police have launched an investigation and established a crime scene. A report for the coroner is being prepared. Officials are looking into whether a suspected mass drug overdose may have been involved, although details are still under review. It's super sad. We do hope that measures are put in place to make sure that lives are protected even when they're out to have fun. Those are the biggest stories in entertainment. I am Sam Dandy.
And that's the news tonight. But before we go, a quick recap of our top stories. Presidency has opened a 2-day economic summit aimed at improving coordination and driving inclusive growth across Nigeria. Protesters stormed National Assembly earlier today over Senate rejection of real-time transmission of election results. And we also brought you news that Antonio Seguro has won Portugal's presidential election, defeating far-right Andre Ventura in runoff after a turbulent campaign. We'd love to hear from you. Please share your thoughts. Use the number on your screen. We're on social media. Find us at News Central TV. You can choose to watch us live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Ebo TV, and on YouTube. Thank you as always for your attention. Have a good night.